So this is just a little diagram of the circuit we've just kind of created here. We've got the power coming into the transformer, the 110 volt AC, the three windings of the output windings of the transformer, the two 20 volt windings, which are separate, the 6 volt light winding, and I've drawn this with just one of these windings connected. I didn't bother showing this connected just because, like I said, you got to do it correct, and if you get the lead swapped, you can have a problem. But and you probably won't run into this double winding output thing very often. This is the first supply I've seen like this that has that, where they're connected together. You will have the one high voltage and one low voltage typically. So the high voltage AC gets connected to the two terminals on the rectifier. The plus and minus DC comes out of the other two terminals, and we measured that. It was about actually 18 volts. It wasn't 20. And then when we put a load on it, this is representing a resistor that represents the machine, which is probably going to read less than an ohm if you actually put an ohm meter on it. And then read the voltage across here and here, and that's going to tell you what voltage the machine is getting. This is the optional potentiometer we put in series if we needed to adjust this voltage up or down. Most likely you won't need it, but like I said, you can get these for 10-15 bucks on Amazon. It just has to be low resistance, typically 5 to 10 ohms probably, and high wattage, I would say 25 to 50 watts, because there's going to be a fair amount of power going through here. Anyway, that's the theory of how this is wired up, and if you have any questions, just make a comment or send me a message. So I've gone ahead and put some heat shrink insulation on these connections just to make sure that they don't short out anywhere. And I'll probably put some a little more, probably use some black electrical tape on this, wrap this bridge a couple times with that just to make sure everything is secure and there aren't any bare wires showing to touch anything. And I've also cleaned up these rectifiers a little bit. They still, it's basically the coating has corroded and come off, and it's actually white underneath. I think it's kind of like a brown paint on top. That could be painted if you really wanted to make it look better. The rest of it is pretty much as it was. And the only thing I haven't done is connected the line cord to the 115, 110 AC, which would come in through here, and I can, I'll either do that or leave it up to the person who owns this to see what they want to do about that. So anyway, that's it. It's pretty simple. And there is one other alternative which I will show that you can use instead of doing this if you want. So after subjecting you to all that work to basically repair a 12 volt DC power supply, which in my own opinion is something I would do, just because it uses part of the original machine, and you can leave this in. It looks original. It is original. You're using part of it in its originality. But if you don't want to go to all that trouble and you want to do something a little easier, what you can do is not do that and get one of these modern DC power supplies. These are 5 volt DC, 5 amps, and this one is 10 amps. And the 5 volt power supplies are pretty cheap, probably 15 to 30 bucks if I remember, depending on the amperage. 5 volts is very common in digital circuits, so that's why they're in abundance. And you can use these for a 6-volt machine pretty easily because they have an adjustment screw on the voltage, and there's some adjustment in there. You can crank it up to pretty close to 6 volts. And so there you have your 6-volt DC at 5 amps or 10 amps or even higher. If you do that, you still have to remember the light circuit, which is going to need 6 volts no matter what. Some machines did use lights that were different, higher voltages, like 15 to 18 volts, but that's pretty uncommon. But what you could do is you could actually leave this in, use the light volt, AC voltage for the lights only. Don't bother with any of the DC part of it, and use these for DC. So there's lots of options, and it just depends on your preference and whether you want to go to all the trouble, which actually, to me, it's not trouble, but the work of converting this thing and repairing it. So anyway, that's it. If you have any questions or comments, just drop me a comment. Thanks.